Will anyone ever really know who the narc is? Will anyone ever know who the narc really is? Oh, yeah. I mean, they reveal themselves over time. I mean, if you think about it, like, one of the patterns that's really common in narcissists is that they constantly are, like, moving around. Like, they're constantly having to, like, start over. They're having to repeat things. They're having to... I mean, Lord, I know with mine, before he met me, I mean, he was moving every 6 to 8 months, and I think a big part of that is because they can't keep up their facade for that long. Like, that's why they're constantly having to start over, and they're constantly having to hit the reset button and go somewhere else. So, yeah, they do. They always end up revealing themselves, even if they don't mean to. They just do. Did you notice any drug addiction with yours? Okay, so... The only thing that I know for a fact is the day that I kicked him out, when he had his major, like, outburst, we'll just call it that. They left their Apple Watch at the house after I kicked him out, and I went through it, and I did see that he was actively searching for drugs that night. Whether he got them or not, I highly suspect that he did, based on his behavior, and when I saw that text, it made me be like, And then I started to think back over, like, the last, like, 5 months of our relationship, and I was like, well, if he has been doing this, that actually makes a lot of these behaviors make a lot more sense. So I highly suspect that it was being done the last couple of months of our relationship, but I never got the actual proof. I didn't need it, honestly, because whether he was on it or not, the behaviors that were going on the whole relationship, but especially the last 5 months, they were unacceptable, sober or not. So that's what I did notice, for sure. Can you please clarify hoovering versus reverse hoovering? Yes, so hoovering is like a direct attempt. So, I mean, examples are better. So hoovering, like, let's say that you leave them, they are going to, like, send you flowers. They're going to send you your favorite candy. They're going to show up at your doorstep with, like, you know, the big grand gestures, trying to win you back. I miss you, blah, blah, blah. It's direct contact trying to get you back. Reverse hoovering is where they just kind of almost, like, stop contacting you in an attempt for you to reach out to them. So it's where you're the one that makes the move. And sometimes that's even more effective, because even when I work with clients, like, they're like, I went no contact and he's not even trying to reach out to me, like, why, you know, this and that, and they want to unblock them just to figure out, like, why they haven't tried to contact him, because it's almost kind of like, do they even notice that I blocked them? And so reverse hoovering is a tactic where they don't make the action, like, they set it up to where you make the action to go back to them. I hope that helped answer that question. It's a good question. Yes, Bree, I agree. So substance abuse doesn't create an abuser, but it does amplify if it's already there. And I absolutely 100% agree with that. My narc self-medicated with alcohol and then drugs. Yeah, I think it's super, super common. And again, it's just kind of like abuse, as abuse said. They don't create them, but it does amplify them. And that's why you do see a lot of narcissistic well, honestly, like, if you just look up things like when it comes to addiction in general, you're gonna see that narcissistic behaviors is unfortunately really associated with addiction. So there are rare cases where when people get clean, the behaviors stop because they're associated with the action. Like, it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg type thing. But if you think about it, when somebody has an addiction and they're trying to hide that, like, they're covering up who they really are, right? Well, that's essentially what a narcissist does their entire life, with or without substances. So if it's related to the addiction, you know, they're lying, they're covering up, they're doing whatever they need to do to get their next fix. You know, they're manipulating situations. They make you feel bad for them, you know, or they, you know, make you think that you're crazy because you notice that they're behaving different. Like, it's all the same stuff. But I think that the two of them coupled together is where it can get very dangerous, unfortunately. Okay, sorry, I'm just reading comments. Why did you decide to make content? That's a great question. So, I love your Mind of the Narc series. Thank you. So I actually first started to make content really as a way, it was almost kind of like a form of virtual journaling. And I know that might sound a little strange, but that's really the best way that I could describe it. Because it was just healing for me. Like, and I didn't know like why I wanted to, but I just did. And so I started to like, the first thing that I did was I started making like music videos kind of thing, where it was like I would find lyrics that I thought described narcissism really well, and so I would like be lip syncing to the song and then like explaining how like it related to narcissism and like the text. And then I created the Mind of the Narc series, and it was like the first 5 episodes just popped into my brain like that. And when I did that, that was when it really allowed me to understand just how prevalent this was, because of how many people related to the content that I was putting out there. And I was just like, whoa, I had no idea. So and then it just kind of, honestly, it really did just happen by accident, because like I put out the Mind of the Narc videos, and then people were asking questions on those videos, so then I would just like answer the questions and it just like kind of just spiraled out of control in a great way. I never thought that I was going to end up being a social media influencer at all, much less something like this. So that's kind of how it got started for me. Oh, I think the very first song that I did was actually Katy Perry's Dark Horse. If you re-listen to that with like the lens of like dealing with narcissism, it's kind of mind-blowing. Hi, Jen. Is it more prevalent now, or are we just aware? My personal opinion is I think we're just more aware about it. I think this has been going on for a long time. I need to be careful with what I say here. I think that there's been certain behaviors that generationally have just been accepted. Like, you're just supposed to accept certain kind of behaviors because someone is your parent, or someone is your, like, you are just, they're your parent, or they're your grandparent, or they're a person of authority, or, you know, they're your spouse. And especially with women, it's kind of like, I think for several generations, women have just expected to tote the line and just kind of deal with it because it's your husband and it's your job to honor your husband. And I think we're kind of starting to break that a little bit, to where it's like, I don't really care who this person is. It doesn't give them the right to treat me like a pile of garbage. That's my 2 cents on that. So I don't necessarily know if it's more prevalent, but I do think it's more aware, and I think it's being less tolerated. Now with that, it can swing a little bit to the other end of the spectrum, to where it's like, oh, no, not everybody's a narcissist, and not everybody that has narcissistic traits is a narcissist. Like, unfortunately, like, we're human beings. Like, there's going to be times where we're a little bit more narcissistic than other times. It just is what it is. But if it's a consistent pattern of behavior over time, long periods of time, then you might be dealing with who that actually is. So that's my my opinion. Yes, guys, if you are not following Abuse is Abuse, who else is on here? Jen, Amber, those two for sure. I know we're still on here. Definitely give them a follow. They produce some amazing content. All right, I have about like 5 minutes left, and then I gotta hop off and make some din din. I'm making Korean beef tonight. I'm excited. It's one of my favorites. Thank you for the roses, my dear. I just hit 11 months no contact. Yes! Go Sky! That's awesome. Girl, throw yourself a party. That's as good as a birthday. Best anniversary that you'll ever have. Can we see your engagement ring? You sure can. No, it's a little blurry. It needs to come into focus. Wait, if I get closer, no. I can't get it to focus. It's pretty, I promise. He has the same one. So he proposed with one ring, and then we were on a cruise, and homeboy was a little swollen from all the food I'd been eating, and so it was like a little bit too snug. And so just for funsies, we like went into the jewelry shop, and we were like, oh, let's just see what they have. And then like we immediately found these, and we're both very happy with them. What tactics did you use? Wait, hold on. Oh, what tactics did you use to refuse Hoovers? Okay, so number one, no contact, for sure. That was like number one tactic. But because I tried to stay friends with him for like the first 4 or 5 months, which was a huge mistake. Because essentially, the thing about narcissism is that the manipulation and the behaviors, they don't stop just because the relationship stops. It continues regardless of what kind of relationship continues with them, whether it's platonic, whether it's co-parenting, whether like it literally doesn't stop. So trying to stay friends with him because I didn't want to look like the bad guy really just ended up continually getting me hurt. He was smart enough to know that I was done, so he never really tried to Hoover me back into a relationship, but he did continually try to Hoover me into maintain in that friendship. So So again, like, I didn't necessarily use tactics to refuse it because I wasn't refusing it until I went no contact. But what got me the strength to go no contact was I just continually reminded myself of who this individual really was versus who I wanted them to be. I made a list of everything that he had done that devalued me or made me feel demeaned or made me feel unappreciated or like I was crazy. Like, I literally made this whole list just to remind myself like who he really was. And then I also made a list of like what I wanted out of a relationship, and then asked myself, did he even give me any of these things during it? And I was just and when I was constantly reminding myself of who he was, it made me realize like I don't even want this person as a friend. Like, they literally bring no value to me other than anxiety attacks. So why am I continuing to be in any sort of contact with this person? And I didn't even tell him that that I didn't want to talk to him anymore. I literally just blocked him. Like, I just was done. But I think that continuing to remind yourself like of your own personal worth and who this person really is, and not allow yourself to get into that little mind trap of like, oh, maybe it wasn't that bad. Like, well, there were some good times. Like, just remember the good times were there on purpose too. Like, they weren't genuine. It's a lot of like, I wrote a lot of lists. I journaled a lot. Like, it was just, sometimes you just kind of have to remind yourself of the cold, hard facts about what you really went through and who this person really was in order to not get sucked back in. So, well, all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. I appreciate you guys hopping on my live, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and SJ. So, don't forget that I have started a YouTube as well. The link to that is in my link tree in my bio, and there's also, actually, no, that's the easiest way to get to it. And then I'm also on Facebook now, too. All those links are in my link tree, so make sure you guys are following me on there and on Instagram as well. I'm really excited because on YouTube, actually starting next week, I'm going to be having content on my YouTube that's exclusive to YouTube. So it's going to be longer videos, videos that are not here on TikTok or Instagram or anything else. They're just going to be on YouTube. So make sure that you're following me on there so you don't miss out on any of that. Outside of that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday and a good weekend, and I will see you guys. I will see you guys on the next live. Love you all so much. Thank you guys for your continued support. Bye.